Israeli police are closely monitoring Temple Mount in Jerusalem ahead of the Eid al-Adha Muslim holiday.
Gaza terrorists responded.
The police seized flags and banners from the masked suspect who could be charged with displaying photos of terrorists and the flags of Palestinian terrorist movements, including Hamas, at the end of the morning prayers.
The Dome of the Rock is numbered among the sacred sites as it holds a deep religious and cultural significance in the nation of Israel. Word has gone out that the Dome of the Rock is closely related to the current crisis in Israel. Something just happened with the revered rock that shocked the world and cast doubts in the hearts of people regarding the sacred site. What happened with the Dome of the Rock? Will it affect Israel and the world badly? Join us as we reveal what happened with the Dome of the Rock that shocked the world. Power tussle for Dome of the Rock shocks the world. Jerusalem is a biblical and modern place that houses the sacred site for the Dome of the Rock. The event that happened with the Dome of the Rock is the involvement of religious groups, including Israel and Palestinians, fighting for ownership of this sacred site. Women and children have been sacrificed among innocent citizens because of the power tussle for the famed rock. Others have been forcefully evicted from their homes in the heat of the struggle. It's shocking to the world because a holy site like this has led to so much tension and agitation in the land, resulting in the loss of lives. The reason for this fight is that the holy site is important not only to the Jews, but also to Muslims and Christians. Situated at the Temple Mount, in the exact same spot where the old Jerusalem's temple once stood, the Dome of the Rock is very crucial to Judaism. Lots of Israelis regard the place as the holiest site because it was once the position where the Holy of Holies in the temple was located. In 2005, Israel's chief rabbinate forbade Jews to walk on the site to avoid entering the Holy of Holies by mistake, because the Holy of Holies is the only residence for God on earth, and only the high priest goes in once a year to offer atonement for the people. Being the most sensitive site in the fight between Israel and Palestine, most political events have taken place around there. The Jews strongly believe that the foundation stone, which is the rock under the dome, was the stone upon which the world was created. It is widely believed that an underlying reason for the strife is that the Palestinians don't want the Jews to worship their God at the Temple Mount. Palestinians fear the control Israel is gaining over the site, and over time, they might get chased out from the place they call home. Why Dome of the Rock sparks conflict? The Dome of the Rock finds a common ground between Muslims, Jews, and Christians. It is an important holy site for all of these religions. Christians believe that this was the spot where Adam was formed from the dust by God, and where Abraham displayed his famous biblical faith through his willingness to sacrifice his son, Isaac. Built in 691 CE, the dome has undergone many restorations and renovations since then. The Christians forcefully took control of this site during the Crusades, after wresting Jerusalem away from the grip of the Muslims. The dome was only given back to Muslims after Salah al-Din reclaimed the holy site in 1187. The dome was skillfully built by Umayyad Caliph Abd al-Malik in 691 CE. Over time, the King of Jordan, the Ottomans, and the Fatimid Caliphate have given the dome a rework and facelift. But the Jews also have an interest in this site, since their tradition states that all creation started there when God took some of the dust on the dome to form Adam, the first man. Jewish history records the Temple Mount, where the dome is located, to be where King Solomon erected the first temple in 1000 BCE. The first temple was home to the Ark of the Covenant, which had the 10 Commandments inside it. When King Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem and took the inhabitants hostage, King Solomon's temple was destroyed. Later on in 516 BCE, King Herod built the second temple on the same site where the first temple once stood. It remained standing with periodic renovations for 500 years until the Roman general Titus razed it to the ground in revenge in 70 CE. For Christians, the Temple Mount is only significant because it relates to the life of the Lord Jesus Christ. The 12 apostles, the Virgin Mary, and different Christian sites are all connected to the Temple Mount. Most importantly, the Temple Mount is associated with the teachings of Jesus Christ, famously for his denouncements of the moneylenders and crucifixion by the Romans. The Dome of the Rock was previously regarded as the location of the Jewish temple and several other places of worship. The Jews reverently go into there to pray and put their faith to work in their God. The Islams called the Dome of the Rock Qubbat al-Sakra, and it's popularly thought of as an octagonal building on a raised platform located in the middle of the Temple Mount vicinity in Jerusalem. Almost all Muslims honor the area as the spot at which Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. The ascension of Muhammad is known as Miraj. Muslims consider the dome to be more than an ordinary structure. They refer to the Temple Mount as Haram al-Sharif, which means noble sanctuary. Prophet Muhammad's ascension to heaven is believed to be the turning point for Islam because it confers the closeness of Muhammad to God on his followers, inspiring them to chase after deeper closeness to God in their walk on earth. Several Islamic dynasties ruled and reigned over Jerusalem, including the Abbasids, Ayyubid, and the Fatimid. Each of these caliphates renovated the dome and added their own ornamentations and inscriptions promoting their agenda. In the era of the Crusader kingdom in Jerusalem, the Dome of the Rock was completely surrounded by a wrought iron screen to make sure Christian pilgrims didn't extract relics. It was the Ayyubids who replaced it with the current wooden screen surrounding the dome. A remarkable restoration ordered by the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman I, the Magnificent, in the 16th century, took over the exterior mosaics with multicolored ceramic tiles. The worn-out and damaged exterior and interior ornaments were either repaired or replaced in the 20th century at the instance of the Hashemite royals, and a new gold covering was put on the dome. Experts say the architectural design was in sharp contrast with that of a mosque and was unsuitable for Muslim prayers. Aside from that, it doesn't tally with other categories of religious Islamic buildings. After the Abbasid dynasty gained control in the 8th century, some people began spreading the news that Abd al-Malik built the Dome of the Rock as a spare for the Kaaba in trying to move the Muslim Hajj from Mecca to Jerusalem. At that time, Mecca was under the control of rebels like Ibn al-Zubayr. Since both the Jewish and Muslim groups have claimed ownership of the Dome of the Rock, theories fly around about which religious group truly owns the holy site. Though people have dug into ancient documents to find out the true owner of the site, nobody knows for sure till today. What the Temple Mount looks like. The Temple Mount stands quietly as a fenced compound inside the ancient city of Jerusalem, and it houses two beautiful architectural structures, one of which is the Dome of the Rock to the north and the Al-Aqsa Mosque to the south. Around the southwest is located the Western Wall in Jerusalem, which contained Judaism's two temples. As the third holiest site in Islam after Mecca and Medina, the Temple Mount has been a subject of interreligious struggle for years. Currently, the site is under the sovereignty of Israel, but is being managed by the Muslim Waqf Religious Trust. Though both Jews and Muslims are permitted free access to the site, Jewish prayers are banned and forbidden in the region. This has long been challenged by a small group of Israelis who sought to take down the Muslim stronghold over the site. Most times, when violence between both religious groups reaches its peak, Israeli forces step in to forcefully restrict access to Muslims till the situation is brought under control. Around 300 feet away from the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the southeast corner of the Temple Mount compound, a wide plaza creates a path to underground vaulted archways that have been called Solomon's Stables for centuries. This most likely happened because the Templars in the Order of Knights were reported to have kept their horses there when the Crusaders took over Jerusalem. Connecting the Jewish Third Temple to the Dome of the Rock. King David's last son, Solomon, built the first temple of Israel, which was called the Beit HaMikdash. Nevertheless, speculations have risen about the first temple from Benjamin Kedar, a Hebrew professor, as he said that the Jews know nothing about the first temple, as it was erased without a trace. They're only left with imaginations of it as a state-of-the-art temple with cedar and fir, richly painted, and containing the Ark of the Covenant coated in gold. The Babylonian army destroyed Solomon's first temple in 587 BC, and the Ark of the Covenant was said to have disappeared out of sight from the conquerors. After Jerusalem was conquered by Persians in 539 BC, the Jews found their way back home from exile and started construction on a second temple, according to the Book of Ezra. In the 1st century, King Herod conducted a huge reshaping of the Temple Mount to make it more aesthetic. Filling up the slope surrounding the Mount summit, he expanded the Temple Mount to its current size. He enclosed the Temple Mount inside a 100-foot-high retaining wall made from limestone blocks that were quarried from the Jerusalem hills. Finally, he constructed a bigger version of the Second Temple. Now the Second Temple has come to ruins, and the Israelis are agitating for a Third Temple. There have been recent deliberations about connecting the structure of the Third Temple to the Dome of the Rock. This speculation has met with strong resistance from the Islamic groups as they perceive a future loss of the holy site to the Israelis. Notwithstanding, the Jews still stubbornly hope to build the Third Temple on the Dome of the Rock because it is said to be a key player in the coming of the future Messiah. The Third Temple is one that the Israelis are pushing to succeed and eclipse both Solomon's First Temple and the Second Temple. While Solomon's First Temple was destroyed by the Babylonian siege in 587 BCE, the Second Temple was completely upturned during the Roman siege in Jerusalem in 70 CE. Though not yet actualized, the idea of a Third Temple is a sacred subject in Judaism, especially in Orthodox Judaism, that must be built one day. The Third Temple will be constructed as the most sacred place of worship for Jews. Its building is inevitable because the Hebrew Bible records that prophets called for it to be constructed before or at the same time as the coming of the Messiah. The construction of the Third Temple also has some very interesting roles in Christian theories. Religious Jews dearly anticipate a future, ultimate project of the Third Temple directly inside the Temple Mount in the ancient city of Jerusalem. Muslims have never failed to contest these speculations running in Israel because of the presence of the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock gives Muslims bargaining power to counteract the construction of the Third Temple at the Temple Mount, because the dome was built by the Umayyad Caliphate in the region housing Solomon's Temple and the Second Temple. The fear of the dome getting destroyed for the Third Temple to be built is quite scary for the Muslims, as that could mean that they lose real estate equity in Jerusalem. The Jews are not losing faith in their vision for a Third Temple, as they're zealous to bring to fruition the messianic prophecy regarding the temple building. Muslims view this proposed construction as a grave insult to Islam, because the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock are right there in the Temple Mount. So there's no way a Jewish Third Temple is going to be built side by side, or even worse, built in place of the Dome of the Rock. Jewish prophecy concerning the Third Temple. Most of the prophets in the Hebrew Bible all prophesied that in the last days, the exiles of Israel will return to the Promised Land and a new temple will be rebuilt. The Jews are not just on a mission to acquire more space in Israel for the lost tribes and exiles of Israel to return, but they're also putting the construction of the Third Temple in full gear. The Temple Institute and the Temple Mount, as well as Eretz Yisrael Faithful, are the two main Israeli organizations responsible for erecting the Third Temple and reinstating the rites of sacrificial worship. It isn't what just happened at the Dome of the Rock that's shocking the world right now. James Webb Space Telescope's launch of its brand new JWST Special Edition phone cases is causing a frenzy at the moment. Grab yours by clicking the link on the screen or following the link in the description. Thank you for watching till the end to find out what just happened with the dome of the rock that shocked the whole world. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more video content.